In this video, I'm taking these little battery operated lamps and turning them into something a little bit more interesting. Now, I've done a few lamp DIYs before. I recently did that terracotta one, and I also made a floor lamp out of a single piece of wood veneer. So you may be thinking, isn't she sick of making lamps? And the answer to that is absolutely not. I love lamps, and I'm really in my lamp era. Let me show you why. See here? This previously had no lamps. I've now moved that wood veneer lamp there, and these two that I got on Facebook Marketplace. I'll try and find similar ones and link them below if I can. When you compare it now to before there were lamps there, it's just so much more cozy and nice in that area. So I've got to hang that art there and everything. But the lamps make all the difference. And similarly in here, which I need to do an update on this room, it's turning into a playroom, but I've got an uplight there, and I've got my little terracotta one I made there. Oh, and I got this one as well. This was just from a thrift store. Nothing really that special, but the light, what I'm realizing about lamps is that any lamp is better than no lamp. And so I've really been in a phase of collecting them at thrift shops, just cheaply to just get some. And it's just life-changing. So I'm in this phase of just wanting to add more and more lamps, because every time I add a lamp into the house, the space where it's put looks so much better, and I just want to continue that. So that's what I want to do, but I have reached a challenging point, and that is there are lots of spaces in the house where I'd like to have lamps, but there is no electricity. So I've been trying to figure it out, and the solution is this. This is a battery operated light, and it has 3 colors. Cool, I think this is daylight, and then off. It's so simple. I've actually bought 2 different types. I'll link to them below. I do think they're a nice neutral thing that's good. You could just pop it in a little corner somewhere where there isn't any power, and that's good. But I want to make them a little bit more kooky and interesting. So I've got a few ideas, and I want to test out a few things. Now, I've already done one, and it was a bit of a fail. The idea is here. I'll show you how I did it. What I used was one of those things that they use for sport. I actually don't even know the name of it, a cone, a sports cone. I don't know. Sporty people would know the name, would know what to call it, but not me. So this is actually a long journey. I've been wanting to try and make a marble lamp. So I originally, quite some time ago, tried using polymer clay, which cures in the oven. And I tried all these different things. I actually also tried to recreate the same shape and concept as that wood veneer lamp. And it was all working well, it had a lot of potential. But the one thing I didn't think through was it didn't fit in the oven. So it was a fail. The marble effect was quite good because I found this polymer clay, which was actually translucent. So it wasn't a solid white color. It was semi sheer or something like that. I'll link to it below. I mixed it with black, and then I created this marble effect, and it was quite a lot of work, but it was looking good apart from that structural issue. So if I had more, I would have used it for this little attempt, but I didn't. And I did have some black air dry clay and white air dry clay, and I thought, well, why don't I just try this and see how it works? And the idea is there, but it didn't turn out very well. So you could do it. But before we continue with my other ideas of how to improve this lamp, I just wanted to show you this little experiment I did of the 2 different lamps I got. Before I really committed to a lamp, I just wanted to see if one of them was better than the other. So here they are on the floor of my wardrobe, and just comparing them next to each other, the brightness seems to be exactly the same. So I'll link to both of these below. I really do think it just comes down to the size and the shape, whichever works best for you. But let's get back to the next project. So this lamp idea is inspired by one I saw on Pinterest, and I thought it looked like something that was quite easy to replicate, and
it totally was. By complete coincidence, it turns out that this shoebox for toddler shoes was exactly the same height as the lamp, so it was the perfect size to use for this. So I roughly did copy the shape of this one, although of course you could make it whatever shape you want. So then I just cut the shape out in one single piece, and yeah, it was a little bit fiddly, but I just took my time and tried to do it as neatly as possible. But I must say it is pretty forgiving, so this didn't need to be completely perfect. So have a look at this. It's already looking quite good, and I've really only just cut a piece of cardboard up. But this has got a lot of potential, this project. I'm excited for where this is going to go. So time for the hot glue gun, which I've recently upgraded to a Ryobi one so that I can use the same battery as all of my gardening tools. This is a pretty heavy duty, hardcore hot glue gun, but it is really good. So I just stuck the cardboard on, like pretty straightforward so far, you know? Now I was thinking about how to get the texture on the lamp, and my thoughts were tissue paper. Now this tissue paper came in that same shoebox. This is all like just coming together really easily. This wasn't really my plan to incorporate a perfectly sized shoebox with the perfect amount of tissue paper in it, but that's just how this turned out. I just thought, why not use this tissue paper? And actually, because it's been scrunched up so much, it's actually got quite a good texture to it. So I just got the tissue paper and some gesso. Now this is leftover. It's pretty old actually, this gesso. I used it for my gold tapestry project. It's probably not the freshest gesso out there, but it'll do the trick. So my idea is just to paint it on the cardboard and then add the tissue paper. And I'm looking to put the tissue paper on in a way that really encourages that texture and makes it sort of scrunched up and, you know, makes it just look textured and interesting rather than a piece of cardboard.
So here's where we're at so far. It's not finished. I've done my first layer, and I think the gesso works really well because gesso isn't paint. It's paint with some plaster in it. So it's like, it's just more than paint, you know? And I think it's actually perfect for this type of thing. Ooh, there you go. It's looking great. So I've done my first layer. I want to do another layer, of course. But I just actually really think I'm onto something here because the tissue paper, you can still see when you look up close, you can see a little bit of the New Balance print, but that will go away with another layer of gesso. So I'm not worried about that. I just think that this is a really interesting texture. Like this still looks a little bit like cardboard, but with, I think, another 1 or maybe 2 layers of tissue paper, I think it might actually look good. And I'm also glad that I put it on the top. I was really unsure about it, but it was the right decision because it wouldn't have looked quite right, I don't think. And I think that now with like that same kind of texture continuing onto the lampshade of it, it all makes sense. So I'm happy with how it's going. But for now, I'm gonna let this fully dry and then come back and do another layer once that's dry. I've still got plenty of tissue paper, so that's good. Now my next idea was to recreate a mini version of that terracotta lamp I made, but I've had another idea instead, and I think I've tried that. I know how I'd do it, like, you know, we've seen that before. So I've got actually another idea I want to try out more. So I went to this store when I was in Australia at Perigian, and I saw these little lamps that looked really similar to these, and I was thinking about buying these at the time. They seem to have like a gold leaf effect on them, and I thought that's interesting. That's a way to just like make it something more. Now you can get these lamps in other colors. You can get them in brass and sort of gold colors, so you don't need to do gold leaf, but I had another idea to get something more unique. So I'm going to ditch my little failed attempt. Look, there's an idea there. You could try it. The shape of that sports cone thing is perfect for this particular lamp. It was just poor execution. Good idea, poor execution. We're moving on from it. And now I want to do a bit of a gold leaf because I love gold leaf, did lots of gold leaf with that gold tapestry I made. I have come across a very special kind of gold leaf that I've never seen this before. I got it on Amazon, I'll link to it below. It is like a pattern. Gold leaf is just like so stressful to deal with. Instead of being just plain gold, it's got this like oxidized, I don't even know how you describe it, like some kind of oxidized sort of look to it. So I thought that could look cool. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna try using clear gesso this time. I don't even know how clear gesso is really gesso actually, because surely it needs to have plaster in it, but whatever. I bought some clear gesso and I'm gonna try that because I don't think the white will do well in this scenario. And I'm just gonna see what happens, to be honest. I might be ruining this. If I ruin it, I'll just have to come up with another project idea and do something else. But yeah, I think it's got potential to just look a little bit unique, you know, like just something I've never ever seen this kind of stuff before. It might be a disaster.
What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to own. The space.
I've got a bad feeling that this isn't going to dry properly. I'm going to leave it. I learned from my tapestry project that it is best to just let it fully dry before you start fiddling with it. But even as I was putting the gesso on, it was kind of like it wasn't sticking to the surface. I probably needed to put down a primer or something. But I'm just going to leave it and come back tomorrow when it's dry and see what's happened. And worst case, like it's a forgiving like pattern. Worst case, what I'll do, maybe I'll just use PVA glue. It's there. So maybe that's a sign that I'll just try PVA glue instead. The only problem is sometimes PVA glue doesn't really work with gold leaf. So I don't know. I'll have to test it out. We'll see what happens. Just looking at this from further away though, I really like it. Like, it's just such a different look. It's really interesting to look at. And I like it so much, I kind of want to put it on something else. Like, I want to cover everything in this gold leaf. So here's where I'm at in my lamp journey. I have spent so many years not buying lamps because I don't quite like them enough, and that one's not quite right, and I don't really like that, or that one's too expensive, and I've been so fussy I end up with no lamps. And I really don't think that served me very well. So my new phase is buy lamps, make them nice later. So I've been to the charity shop and bought a bunch of lamps really cheaply and just dotted them around the house. And actually, what I've realized is once you put them in place, it doesn't matter. You're just happy there's a lamp there. So I'm getting more. But yeah, so my vibe is just get more lamps. The whole room looks better with a lamp because of the light that it has. And actually, the style of it is not the most important thing. It really is just the fact that there's a light there that has the big impact. However, I do want to have some cool looking lamps. So that's why I'm doing this project, to just like take some basic lamps and go, I've got a lamp now. Let's make it a little bit cool and kooky and interesting. So it's the moment of truth. I'm going to just see what comes off now. I hope it's stuck down.
My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to hold.
So do you want to see? It's not looking good. But I think we can rescue it. I think if I get, like, there's a really big bit there. I think if we just add glue, add another layer, look, it's probably just gonna add some like dimension to it and actually make it a bit more interesting maybe. Hopefully.
Got the feeling in your bones, make you feel right at home. Honey, does it well, keep me dancing till I'm dead. 'Cause I could run a mile like this, head over heels, feels like this. 'Cause
So now it's time to do another layer of this. I think it's dried really nicely. I think with a little bit more gesso on it, it's gonna look good, but you can see that texture that's coming through on the top. It's just like an interesting texture that's like, is it fabric or is it tissue paper, I suppose? But yeah, I'm just gonna add some more layers on it, cover it white. And it's gonna get hard around these pointy bits, but I think I'll figure it out.
Deep inside the depths of stone, voice will echo, need no phone. Ruled by the laws above, nature shows me, makes me taught.
So this one's basically nearly done. I'm gonna trim the edges and then that's pretty much it. So it's looking cute, like for a battery operated lamp. It's just a bit more interesting, isn't it? So what I've actually learned about this lamp since doing a little bit more research is that the artist does it in clay, and I probably should have made this in clay. It you know, the cardboard is a little bit thin, so like on the side it maybe looks a little bit cheap, but like from far away it's cool. Clay might have been a good alternative, but to be honest, I'm not in the mood for clay after my clay fail, so this is a good way to do it if that's not your vibe. But I did make one big mistake, I think, that would have made this a lot easier. And that was sticking the cardboard to the lamp before I covered it in tissue paper and paint. Like, if you think about it, that just made it harder. And what I should have done is have my cardboard shape, cover it in tissue paper and gesso and all of that stuff. And when I was happy with it, then glue it to the lamp and then just add like a little bit more to sort of smooth out that, because that's the effect that I've got going on there, but you could add that later. So I should have done that. So lesson learned. But other than that, like, it's turned out, I think it's a success. Don't you think? So this one I need to just tidy up the last little bits, but I'm happy with this as well. I think that it's going to turn out very good. And I'm actually happy with leaving it the base like this. Like, I think that it draws more attention to the interesting gold effect rather than if it was all covered in it. I don't know, just something's telling me to keep it like this. I don't know if I'm making the right decision, but I just kind of feel like that's what I've got to do. So I'm just going to tidy up the edges on this and then I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to put any kind of coating on top or anything. I kind of like the effect that it has. And to be honest, what I'm going to be doing is thinking about other things that I can cover in this cool gold leaf, because it is cool. It's interesting. It's just something different. I really like it. So yeah, I'm going to tidy these up and get them ready and see what the final product looks like. So I hope you enjoyed this little lamp journey. I'm really happy with my little battery operated lamps, and I haven't quite decided where I want to put them, but it doesn't matter because they're battery operated. I can move them around as much as I want. So I'm going to start to reorganize this little area here. This is a little autumn display, and like, it's February. It's time to say goodbye. I'm getting ready for spring, so time to get rid of them, and I'm going to think about something else to put here. So I'm going to work on that for now, and I'll see you in the next video.